The anticipation mounts. Will there be a decision yet this evening? I'm talking about Ferguson, Missouri and the Michael Brown shooting. Is our power grid under as much risk as what they say? We'll be talking about that too in just a moment.
Things I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wait right, but I have my doubts. During the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I like to go to bed free at night under these stars and stripes. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts, but to wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out, and I don't understand. Roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have my doubt that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubt. And I have my doubt that we'll make it back out. I have my doubts, so I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. And I have my doubt that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts. So we're all messed up and out of touch. Let's text someone who's in the other room. So no wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong, but I hope that I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong, but I hope that I'm wrong. The things I pray and contemplate tonight. Wearing me out.
Revelation 12. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pained to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man-child, who was with a rod of iron, the child caught up unto God and to the throne. The woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now is come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time and times, and half a time, from the face of the serpent. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth, and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God, and have the testimony of Jesus Christ.
Good evening. It is November 21st. 2014. This is your host, Mike Callahan, and welcome to the Watchman News. Wow, we are all still waiting that decision. It's amazing. I keep checking the local news sites to see if they come up with a decision. I will continue to checking the news, local news, as I do the show. I do have a suspicion it's going to be tonight. Of course, nobody can be positive of that. I've got a couple video clips to show you tonight. One of them would be this one right here, the where Mayor Slay and Dooley and Isom discuss the security. Yeah, it's a lot of blah blah, but at the same time, I think you can get a real good feel of the tensions and of what's being suspected. But at the same time, it really feels like it's getting pushed, like they want absolute craziness. So let's hope not. But let's go ahead and get suspicious observers out of the way, and then I will get right into it, and we will go from there. So without further ado, here is suspicious observers for today.
Good morning, folks. We start with 24 hours of an eerily calm star. Solar weakening has taken back the throne after a brief uptick in activity. Sunspots on the disk are highly disappointing, as we've got Delta-class magnetics as calm as a blank disk when it should be firing. Incoming spots have bipolarity, but there appears to be a good deal of spread between them. The southern negative coronal hole has hit the Earth-facing portion of the sun. Unlike umbral and coronal fields, these magnetic fields stream out into space and are likely the primary reason they can affect planetary seismicity to such a degree. You can see the dark patch coming in there. Maintains some solid force, but appears to do so mostly in the trailing and southern portion rather than the northern extension. Earth took a gamma ray burst this morning out of the Cancer constellation, first one in 6 days. While Bartol looks like this, apparently updated, yesterday's Star Observer alerted us to a major spike in cosmic rays that has since been removed from the data. Nice job, Delaware. Slight magnetic perturbations continued yesterday as the tiny CME continued to interact with our magnetosphere. It remained imperceptible in the solar wind, but our shield instability did tell us something was hitting. Let's quickly take a look at the incoming plasma filaments. These thin dark ropes are the primary CME threat, with the sunspots relatively inactive. You can also see 2 more coming in down south. Actually have a few departures remain stable and little sign of fairly innocuous 5-pointers on the USGS list actually rang into 6 range significantly. Multiple readings telling us so near the India border, while only 2 rang that high in Taiwan, but they were 6.5 and 6.4. And then this morning in the Molucca Sea, just occurring a few minutes ago, 6.9. Folks, you remember the huge news from a few weeks ago about how some top scientists were looking for electrical explanations for dark matter. Well, another huge win for the new electric universe theories comes from a group that is knee-deep in dark matter, black holes, and the Big Bang. Despite their gravitational inclinations, they've discovered that galaxy centers and cosmic jets appear to be not randomly oriented, but parallel with and aligning to each other in large-scale structures. Translation: either it's the greatest cosmological coincidence or this universe is electric. You be the judge. Also, folks, Billy and I indeed hopped on for a live show last night. We talked for just under an hour, introducing another huge name that has jumped ship from the mainstream global warming paradigm onto the boat, advocating for concern over the colder aspect of extreme climate change. It was a very good discussion, got some good resources, and the link for the video is found right below this one. Definitely worth a peek if you missed it last night. Let's quickly run through the weather. Indian Ocean cyclone is weakening as it heads for Madagascar, really taking its time and already a shell of its former self from just 2 days ago. In the United States, the only news story is the return of a severe weather threat with a heat and moisture flow from the Gulf. It'll still be cold and snowy up north as the death toll rises to 10. A bit of a shift in Europe. The largest low, Northern Atlantic, affecting Ireland and the UK, while the eastern flow still shifts up through the continent and west past Norway. Purple alerts appear to show exactly that with those 2 zones. Bit of a hodgepodge down under. We've got multiple convergences, multiple flows with high moisture content. The majority of this area has rain potential in the next day and a half, with the only major storm warnings for the east coast of Australia. Got some shots of our star to close. It's 5:45 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Eyes open. No fear. Be safe, everyone.
And a big thanks to Ben Davison from Suspicious Observers. Looks like I got right back in time. The lovely Jennifer is here, and I was giving her a hand. Anyway, let's go ahead and get on into this video. Again, tensions have really been mounting. It seems like they are purposely getting the tensions mounted. I don't know, escalated is the right word, on both sides. And wow, it's gotten to the point more FBI agents have been apparently called in. And I have heard it from 3 different sources now that 3 floors of Barnes Jewish Hospital has been cleared, has been emptied out in order to make room for suspected injuries from police officers, protesters. And I found it interesting that they included protesters' families. That's correct. 1 floor for protesters, 1 floor for police, and 1 floor for the police, the families of the police. It really seems, even I, because I keep stepping back and looking and going, wow, could this be what really sets things off in this country? And then I try to check myself and I'm like, oh, no, you're just overhyping it. But it almost seems like they're hyping it more than what I could possibly dream of them hyping, at least right from the get-go. So we'll see. Let me play this video. It's a little bit lengthy, and that I apologize for, but this is the news, and I do want to keep as much information out there as I can on what's going on, and this is straight from the horse's mouth. This is... I'm only saying horses because there's multiple people speaking. I still mean they're a horse. Anyway, here you go. Here's Charlie Dooley, Francis Slay, and some other horse. So enjoy it. I'm not against these guys. I just, to me, they're all politicians. So, you know how that goes.
Discussing and jury decision. Leaders again.
A lot of media members showed up for this news conference here at the county building. 50 members, reporters, television crews here from around the world, some as far as Denmark. Now, here's the mayor of St. Louis, the head of the highway patrol, and the St. Louis County executive are hoping.
Hang on a second. This is not the same video that they did have listed there. They had the actual video from that news conference, and I believe this is going to be the video here. Hopefully they didn't scrub it. Wow. Sorry. I did have the right link.
For weeks, police officials and protest leaders have been holding meetings discussing what will happen after the grand jury decision. Fox 2's Rocky Madden is live, where leaders once again said their goal is peace. Rocky.
A lot of media members showed up for this news conference here at the county building.
Hang on, I'm sorry, guys. Here is probably here it is. I am very sorry about that.
We want to take you live now to an important press conference about to get underway in Clayton, where government officials will brief the media on agreements made with protesters on the police response to the grand jury verdict. Let's listen in. First, Charlie Dooley, St. Louis County Executive.
Everybody doing? Let me say a couple things. Let me preface this, if I will. We're not here to make any announcement about this grand jury at all. That is not our responsibility. I'm going to say that again. We are not here to make any announcement about the grand jury decision. That is not our responsibility. I cannot tell you when that's going to happen. I do not know. Are we clear with that? Okay. Listen, the last time that we were here, I indicated that my expectation that when the grand jury makes its decision known, that do not expect the worst, and now I expect the best of people. The vast majority of organizations in this community have been working very hard to train their members and their volunteers to exercise their rights in a manner that is productive and respectful to the wishes of the Brown family. I am encouraged by conversations between law enforcement and some protest groups. For at least 3 weeks, Chief Baumer, Chief Dotson, and others have been meeting to discuss a proposed set of rules of engagement following the announcement. That does not mean that there was negotiations or that these groups agreed to this. It was just a conversation of like things. No one agreed to all these rules, but it's something the police department thought was important for them to address and have a conversation with the individuals, protest groups in the community. The fact that we can sit around the table and have a conversation, even though there may be differing opinions, It is why I have confidence that we will come through this better and not the worse. Earlier today, the Justice Department set out news release about their efforts to help law enforcement to work with communities to minimize needless confrontations. Ron Davis, Director of Cops Office at the Department of Justice, said, law enforcement officers are stewards of peace and protectors of the people, but above all else, they are custodians of the public trust. I couldn't agree more with that statement. We are all working together and working very sincerely to ensure that in the days ahead that we can preserve peace and maintain public trust. Our community is counting on all of us and activists to be a level head and focus on the long-term systematic change that must take place. Right now, not just this community, this state, and this country is looking at the St. Louis region, how we rise to the challenge of this community. I am convinced we're going to do what is right. We're going to be respectful of the protesters. We're going to be respectful of the residents of these communities. We're going to be respectful for the protesters' right to protest. But we also understand that the police need to protect themselves as well. We want a peaceful demonstration. It is meaningful. It is healthy. It is a legacy of this community and of this country that people have free speech regardless of how you feel. There'll be different opinions on both sides. I will hope and pray that they respect each other's opinions. It doesn't mean I have to agree with you, but it is necessary that I have respect for your opinion. If that's how you feel, that is how you feel. But understand, as all Americans, we have a law that we must be upheld, and we're going to do the very best that we can to protect that right. At this time, I'm going to give you my good friend, Mayor Francis Slay of the city of St. Louis, and we'll take it further in this process. Mayor Slay?
All right. Thank you, County Executive Dooley, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today, joining County Executive Charlie Dooley and Public Safety Director for the state of Missouri, Dan Isom, and I, as we share our thoughts with you as we come closer to a decision of the grand jury. As Charlie said, we do not know when the decisions are coming out, but we expect it'll be coming very shortly, and we wanted to give you our thoughts as we go forward. Yesterday, the United States Attorney General Eric Holder, whose Justice Department, as you know, is currently undergoing an investigation of Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson and the Ferguson Police Department in general, took the nearly unprecedented step of addressing this local judicial situation and the police responses to it. His statement acknowledged that the vast majority of police officers across the country honorably defend fellow citizens on a daily basis. They are dedicated to public safety, and we should be very, very proud of them. He said that the Federal Justice Department had issued new guidelines to help federal, state, and local law enforcement officers safeguard the constitutional rights of protesters while maintaining public safety. And he called on the protesters to conduct themselves peacefully. Also yesterday, Michael Brown Sr., in a courageous new video that many of you probably have seen, issued the same call as Attorney General Holder, and for sides, he said, I don't want my son's death to be in vain. And I'm here to tell you that it can't be in vain, and that it won't be. For the past 100 days, County Executive Charlie Dooley and I, and our police commanders have been engaged in many conversations with community leaders and with many of the protest leaders about the days to come after the eventual decision by the grand jury. That is because we believe that it would be imprudent not to plan for protests, regardless of what that decision might be. We have been criticized by some for sitting down with the protest leaders. The protest leaders have been criticized for sitting down with us. We did so because in similar situations in other cities, things ended up very, very badly. We do not want that for our city or our region. This is our city, this is our region, and we live here together. With that in mind, our police commanders engaged some protest leaders on rules of conduct. In person and on conference calls, the two sides have met about 5 times to discuss them. The police commanders and County Executive Charlie Dooley and I agreed to most of those rules because they made sense or we were already doing those things. We did not agree to some of the proposed rules because those rules would have limited the officer's ability to keep people and properties safe. The bottom line is that we instructed our police officers to protect the protesters' constitutional rights. We have directed them to use more active tactics only when necessary to keep people safe or to protect property. If there are protests, we expect some of the protesters will be disruptive. They will likely try, as they did in October, to inconvenience people to make a point. If protesters are nonviolent, police will not be aggressive. But if some protesters turn violent or threatening, police will respond to keep everyone safe, including bystanders, the peaceful protesters, and the police officers themselves. When demonstrators are being civilly disobedient, they will, in most cases, be given a chance to adhere to the law before they are arrested. And then, if necessary, they will be arrested in a non-violent manner. Depending on the circumstances, they may be allowed to occupy public spaces longer than normally tolerated. That will be decided on a case-by-case basis. Our departments, our police departments, will address appropriately to protect themselves, not in an effort to intimidate protesters. Police tactics will not change based on words that protesters use, but only based on the actions that they undertake. Our goal, our job, and our prayer is that at the end of each day, everyone goes home safe. Police, the protesters, and people who are not involved in the protests. That there's no widespread damage to people's homes and businesses, and that we begin to heal. To close the racial divide, to make the changes needed to make St. Louis a more fair and just city for everyone. Charlie and I both strongly support law enforcement. The vast majority of our city and county officers are well-trained professionals who have done an incredible job during these protests, and even before that, keeping people safe and protecting people's rights. During Ferguson October, police officers were the targets of a great deal of invective. Some protesters tried to bait city police officers into taking aggressive action. Not one of our officers took the bait. They showed tremendous restraint and professionalism. They showed the world that they are one of the best police departments in the entire country. I fully expect that they will do their jobs just as well this time. It is important to remember that we are going to have much work to do together to make the needed changes to make St. Louis more fair, more just, and more prosperous for everyone. I ask everyone, the protesters, police officers, and everyone else to remember our underlying goal, and that is to protect the demonstrators' constitutional right and to keep everyone and their property safe. 65, one government is to the principle of silencing the voice of opposition. It is only one way to go, and that is down the path of increasingly repressive measures until it becomes a source of terror to all of its citizens and creates a country where everyone lives in fear. St. Louis City and the region is not going down that path. Let me introduce now our director, state director of public safety, and former chief of the St. Louis Police Department, Dan Ison.
Thank you, Mayor Slay. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. On behalf of Governor Jay Nixon, my boss, who asked me to engage in discussion with various coalitions and protest groups about how we are going to conduct ourselves in law enforcement. This is always a good thing when people are dialoguing. And so in the past 2 weeks, and as recently as this morning, we have been communicating and cooperating to protect people, property, and citizens' constitutional rights. The Unified Command, St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and the Highway Patrol have also been involved in these discussions. They are prepared and they are dedicated to professionalism and to peace. The Unified Command has also set up direct lines of communication to ensure that law enforcement and citizens are dialoguing now and after the decision is made. To the demonstrators who want to be heard, we hear you. We are listening, and we will continue to protect your right to speech. To the property owners who have been worried and anxious in the past 2 weeks and hoping and wanting to be safe, we are going to protect your businesses so they can continue to strengthen the community and to give jobs and opportunities for people in that community. The Unified Command is not just unified in their operations, they are unified in their commitment to peace, property, and allowing people to have their constitutional rights.
At this time, we'll take questions.
Here's what, you mentioned that the protesters will be able to stay in public places for longer periods of time than usual. If things are to get out of hand in a very bad way, will curfews be imposed on these particular protesters like they were back in August?
You know, I'm not going to be taking these, if this happens or that happened. I'm not going to be answering those questions. One thing I will tell you, we're going to take all this on a case-by-case basis. We're going to make decisions based on the situation that is presented, and in a way that will do the three things we talked about: protect people and property, and also protect the rights of the protesters as well.
Mayor Slay, or all gentlemen up here, will there be assurance at this time to the business owners who felt that the police stood down and let their businesses burn and let them be looted, that they can be assured that the police will not stand down, they will go in and help these people this time?
I think all three of us addressed that situation, that all businesses, regardless of where they are, they're going to be protected. First, it's going to be human life, people, the businesses, and the protesters. I think all three of us indicated those things are the top three things that we're concerned about. So again, it is the people in the community, the protesters, and the businesses. They're going to be protected.
You sent a message out. You said to those who want to be heard, we will allow you to be heard. What message are you sending to people who want to disrupt, who may come here with a goal to be disrupted?
Again, we're going to take that on a case-by-case basis, and we're going to do the appropriate things at that time.
Fair enough. But do you have a message for them, what they can expect if they don't follow their rules?
Violence will not be tolerated, is number one. Violence is not going to be tolerated. Depending on the disruption, it's going to all depend on the circumstances, how long it's tolerated, what kind of issues it's creating. But ultimately, we want to protect people and property. We want to protect constitutional rights of the protesters.
An example is, that if someone is jaywalking, we're not going to arrest them. If something else is done to businesses, that can be harmful.
The last few days, people are fearful about what's going to happen. Is there a reason for people around the St. Louis region to be worried about what happens after the grand jury, or are people just getting up in a tizzy for no reason?
Well, I'll tell you this is, first of all, it would be imprudent for us not to be prepared for some widespread unrest as a result of whatever the decision may be. So that's why we're taking these precautions.
You were listening to a live press conference in Clayton. This is St. Louis City Mayor Francis Slay. They're talking with reporters right now, addressing some agreements that they have with protesters on how police will respond once the grand jury reaches its verdicts. Probably the most significant, saying that if protesters are nonviolent, that police will not be aggressive, that people will be allowed to congregate in public places longer than normal, and that protesters will be given a chance to adhere to the law before police would pursue any arrest. And also that police not be based on the pressed words, but their actions. So we're continuing to follow this press conference in Clayton with Slay and Dooley and Isom, and we'll have a complete wrap-up of this coming up today on Fox 2 News at 5.
So you get the basic idea.
Make that field goal.
Oh, we don't want her. So you get the basic idea of what's going on and how they're hyping up the situation. And they are indeed hyping it up to make it as crazy right out of the gate as what they can. Wow, hang on, folks. And if you live in that area, be careful. I hope you listen to my previous shows where I went over about different preparations that you would want to consider in this situation. So I'm talking about hyping up, and things have been hyped up. I'm adjusting my chair, sorry. Things are being hyped up all across the board, whether it be by the local governments, whether it be by the local police. And just like was pointed out, the police were supposed to kind of tone it down a little bit, and they have not. They have kept on at the protesters. They were peaceful protesters Wednesday night, and the police just showed up, bam, already in riot gear, with their masks, their shields, their nightsticks. And, you have to ask the question if they're supposed to tone it down a little bit and respond to the response. Man, are they showing the wrong picture? But let's go ahead and move to a different facet of what is going on. And this is pretty well craziness here. We will hunt you down. The KKK threatens to shoot anonymous, lovers. I'm not going to say it. You're not getting me to? No way. A bitter war of words between hacker collective Anonymous and the Ku Klux Klan risks spilling over into real violence, with the right-wing hate group allegedly threatening to shoot dead activists wearing the Guy Fawkes mask in southern Missouri. Earlier this week, Anonymous sent out a tweet relating an alleged interaction between Frank Encana and self-described Imperial Wizard of the Traditionalist American Knights and a fellow KKK member. In the missive, Encana allegedly said those wandering around rural Missouri in a Guy Fawkes mask could accidentally find themselves in a hunter's crosshairs. His quote was, "It's deer hunting season here in southern Missouri. It's really easy to see how a hunter could mistake someone wearing one of those gay anonymous masks for the hind end of a white-tailed deer. Boom. Oops. Sorry to say it was an accident," the message reads. The mask really come off in the next message attributed to Encana, with unveiled threats of violence and racist invective, never heard that word before, directed at the hacker collective. I'm going to have to go Gadget Weber Dictionary or something. The message claims the names of several anonymous members have already been obtained, including that of Commander X, as described, the Grand Wizard of Anonymous, and another member operating under the handle Trez Sec. You pathetic, I'm not going there. Lovers are going down. We're not hiding. We're not ashamed of who we are and what we represent. The invisible empire cannot and will not be overthrown. The message, signed with Encana's name, read, "We will hunt you down and tear those masks from your face. You'll be strung up next to the chimps." Wow. On display for the whole world to see. The Klan is to be feared, not threatened. On Wednesday, individuals claiming to be affiliated with Anonymous sent a video to News 2 Share saying they took the statement as a direct threat on our lives that they would not stand for. The video continued that hacktivists would employ every means necessary to defend themselves. If you attempt to aid the police in the event of further civil unrest in Ferguson, just know that there are more of us out there than there are of you, but you will not know who we are. We are everywhere. We are among the protesters, and we are even among you. Your violent ideology will not prevail in this fight. They further told the police of Ferguson that if they responded to protesters in the city with violent tactics, they should know that they are being watched very closely. You men have the guns and badges. The KKK will not look back on you kindly. Warning to the KKK and police, peaceful, or you will face the consequences. The two groups with a penchant, wow, I'm telling you, I'm going to have to break out that dictionary, for face covering apparel has been engaging in a perhaps unequal cyber war after the KKK threatened to use lethal force against protesters in Ferguson, Missouri. And this is the letter that they had set out. The group also said the information garnered from the seized Klan websites and Twitter accounts could help them unmask several KKK members, likely sparking the "we're not hiding" triad. On Thursday, Anonymous released a video claiming they had information from a whistleblower, which they said would link the KKK to Ferguson Police Department. The group will not release the information, however, saying its specificity. Maybe if I try spitting that word out, huh? Forget it. Read it. It's right there. Would ultimately reveal the source. At least I know what that word means. Instead, they vow to hold this information until we can connect the dots ourselves. Anybody else thinking, thank God it's Friday? The activists earlier claimed to have identified KKK members at a support rally for police officer Darren Wilson, who shot and killed a black teenager named Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri on August 9th. And I want to point out once again, every news story you see has to mention what race the officer was, what race the teenager was. There appears further protests could erupt in Ferguson, with a federal grand jury set to announce its decision on whether or not to charge Wilson for the death of the unarmed teen. So, like I say, and the media is really playing this out as much as they can. They're trying to get as much bang for the buck as they can with every little detail, with every little different view, with everything they can. They're trying to play this out as much as they can. It's actually getting to be pretty crazy. Now, on the police side of things, Officer Darren Wilson apparently is talking about resigning. Ferguson officer Darren Wilson in talks to resign from police force, sources say. And we'll let the couple-minute video play here. It says it'd be momentarily.
The negotiations are underway for Darren Wilson to resign. Our justice correspondent, Evan Perez, joins us now with the latest. So you're hearing this from whom? From your sources? What are they saying?
That's right, Anderson. We're hearing from sources that Darren Wilson is in the final stages of negotiations under which he would resign. Now, he wants to make clear, he's told people close to him that, he wants to make clear that he's not admitting fault for anything. He doesn't believe he's done anything wrong, but he's doing this mostly because he feels it would be good not only for the community, but also for his fellow officers, Anderson.
Yeah, I mean, there had been a report based, I think, on what the Ferguson police said, that he would return to duty if the grand jury did not choose to indict him. But that, I think, surprised a lot of people. The idea that in a relatively small community, a relatively small police force like Ferguson's, the idea that he would return to the force, whether whatever side of this you're on, in that community, would probably raise a lot of consternation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you this. I mean, when Ferguson Police Chief Tom Jackson said that in a couple of media interviews, there was a lot of pushback. There was a lot of people who thought this is really absolutely not helpful. It's frankly, inflammatory for him to be saying that. These talks have been underway for some time, and we know that they're in the final stages. One of the concerns that Darren Wilson has had is that the grand jury has obviously still been hearing evidence. And he did not want to influence the grand jury, Anderson. He wanted to make sure that, you know, they didn't hear that he was resigning, and then that way perhaps read into that he was admitting any kind of fault. And so that's been one of the key things, the linchpin, frankly, in these negotiations.
So there you have it on that. Yeah, so we'll see. I'm going to real quick, sorry for all the noise. I'm going to real quick refresh the page browser window. Estimator, there's not been an announcement. And no, there has not as of this time. I can't even talk. So let's do this story about the power grid. I've been warning about this and warning about this and warning about this, and it keeps coming up in the media over and over and over. Do I think it could be related in all this? Not directly, but it could get thrown on it. I know that they're saying in St. Louis that protesters have been threatening the power grid. I don't know of anything of the sort. I think it's just a backstory. But anyway, China and others can cripple the U.S. power grid, NSA admits, for the first time. And it cracks me up in a sense, because the first time, they've been talking about this for like 2 years or 3 years now. This is not the first time. Anyway, as you see, this report was published November 20th, which was yesterday, and that was not the first time. The head of the National Security Agency warned Congress on Thursday that China and 1 or 2 other nations currently possess the capability of crippling the American power grid through cyber attacks. Speaking before the House Intelligence Committee Thursday morning, Admiral Michael Rogers, the top official at both the NSA and the United States Cyber Command, said that major systems like the infrastructure that provides power to houses and facilities across the country could be taken offline by state-sponsored hackers from abroad. Certain nations are regularly performing electronic reconnaissance, Rogers warned, in an effort to be well-placed within utility systems in the event that the networks relied on by chemical facilities, water treatment plants, and other critical infrastructure components, are ordered to be taken offline by a foreign government. All of that leads me to believe it's only a matter of when, not if, we are going to see something dramatic, the NSA chief said. See, they're constantly building the story up. Leading figures within the American intelligence community and Congress have long warned of potentially catastrophic repercussions if such networks should happen to be penetrated and pulverized by foreign actors with malicious intent. But Rogers' remarks this week were among the most dire ever from not just individual well-placed within the administration, but a person arguably most qualified to testify as much. We're watching multiple nation states invest in this capability, Rogers warned the committee, specifically naming only China as one of the countries considered to now have such power. In EMP, they've had this ability. Okay, come on. As long as any country that has had a nuclear device has had the ability to do this. We're not talking just about a cyber method here. We're talking about anything that would take down the power grid. Wow. Rogers, a cryptology expert with a decades-long career in the U.S. Navy, replaced General Keith Alexander as head of the Cyber Command and NSA in April. Less than a year after that latter first became the subject of an international scandal when former intelligence contractor Edward Snowden started supplying journalists with classified information about secret surveillance programs used by the U.S. and its allies. The NSA's, the NSA's chief's comments on Thursday came mostly in response to questioning from another Mike Rogers. The Republican congressman from Michigan, who currently chairs the House committee and has long campaigned for new rules concerning both offensive and defensive cyber operations. Yeah, take all that stuff off the internet. How about we do that, huh? Wow. China's economic cyber espionage has grown exponentially in the terms of volume and damage done to our nation's economic future. The Chinese intelligence services that conduct these attacks have little to fear because we have no practical deterrence to that theft. This problem is not going away until that changes, Representative Rogers warned on Thursday's hearing. And I wasn't joking about what I said. I mean that wholeheartedly. Take all these important systems off the internet. There's another thing that's called an intranet. And what an intranet is, like a system, self-contained system, right? So like only people that even knew about that system could be on that system or would be on that system. But these systems are indeed connected to the World Wide Web, which is absolute ludicrous. It's just, they do that. Oh, well, I can tell you why, by the way, to purposely cause a weakness, to purposely allow people to access those computers that shouldn't be. Wow. Anyway, these are challenging and dangerous times for our country, and this committee is at the forefront of ensuring our intelligence community has the tools and resources it needs to keep America safe. Representative Rogers said in response to the announcement, I wish Devin the best of luck as he takes the helm and continues this committee important bipartisan oversight work. Representative Rogers has for years advocated in favor of legislation that would protect American computer networks by allowing the private sector to share information about threats and cyber attacks with the U.S. government. Last month, Senator Saxby Chambliss, the vice chair of that chamber's Intelligence Committee, said any further delays in passing such a bill could have colossal implications. If we wait another year, we are risking the economy of the United States, Chambliss said. Yeah, we're risking the economy. You mean the one that's been gone? Oh, these backstories just really get me. I mean, they just really do. The U.S. has indicted several Chinese nationals in 2014 alone with the charges related to alleged cyber attacks and online espionage carried out at the behest of the People's Liberation Army. Beijing has adamantly denied any such involvement and has accused U.S. rather of being the more active international cyber spy. You know, the reason why I don't play checkers anymore is because it's too easy. The reason I don't play tic-tac-toe anymore is because it always comes out to be a draw. Why are governments playing chess and tic-tac-toe? That's the question to ask. This isn't real. This is a facade. This is a front for a much bigger, much more global agenda. The system will come down. You can bet that. The entire system is coming down. Whether it be the economic system, whether it be the social, if you want to call that a system, it's all going down. I really do think that they're going to do everything they can to use the events that unfold in Ferguson as a cause, as a trigger to take that down and blame it on something else. But I'm telling you, our economy has been gone for a long time. They're just looking for an excuse to drop the dollar, go to an international currency, put us under United Nations rule. And there's a lot more. I mean, depopulation is part of it. Changing where we live at, how we live, who lives. It's going to happen, folks. That's what I got for you tonight. I will be back up if something comes out about Ferguson. I will cover any serious protest updates, riot updates, or if a UFO comes and lands out back, I'll come on live and I'll update. How's that sound? Maybe I'll ask them to land a UFO. Maybe I want to go to a different planet. All right, folks, that's what I got for you tonight. I promise I will update you as soon as I know something. May God be with you. May he walk with you. Always be one with your spirit. I love you all. Hang in there. Like I told you last night, it's going to be one heck of a ride. All right, we'll see you soon.